Yo, what is good? What is good? What is good, y'all? Freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, and freedom fighters. Snapzilla Gorilla here. How y'all doing? Real odds and evens. How you doing, man? Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. You know, I was going to do this. I was going to cover this in a live stream yesterday or the day before, and I was going to do it from the truck, but I was like, you know what? Let me try this little thing. Let me try this setup, see what happens, because I want to actually show you guys some stuff. You know what I mean? Queen Sister Cameron, salute to you. Yes, we are back. We are back. We are back. Yeah, we're going to get into this, man, because it's real important to go over this shit, man, because, you know, you're not going to get a lot of the real from the louder voices. So why not put my 2 cents in based on what I found? Because people are claiming that Donald Trump posted receipts of this white genocide in South Africa, right? They're talking about that. So I'm like, okay, all right, let's see what he's talking about. Let's see what he's talking about. And I did a little digging, and I found out what he's talking about. Needless to say, it's a bunch of nonsense. So I don't know if you guys can hear me. Please let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know. Let me know. Let me see. Let your boy know. All right, cool. So, as you guys might know, they are talking about this so-called white genocide in South Africa, right? Now, they're saying this is happening to farmers, white farmers in South Africa. And I touched on a little bit about the history of farming in South Africa and Africa in general. Essentially, for the most part, there really was no major farming going on. There was a lot of hunting and gathering by the indigenous people of South Africa, just like in many other places. It's like Australia, the United these lands they call the United States, South America, North America, Canada, and all that. People were pretty content. The indigenous folks were pretty content and okay with just hunting, right? If they wanted to get meat, they would hunt for it. If they wanted to eat animals or eat plants, they would just go out and pick a berry or pick an apple or whatever the fuck they had where they were. Now, in the civilizations where they're a little bit more advanced, they would have some agriculture, but it wasn't like, this huge thing. But, I talked about that, right? And, the whole thing is, you can't, if you don't have the white farmers in South Africa, how are they going to, the Africans, they don't know how to farm, right? Oh, they don't know how to farm. Miss me with that bullshit, okay? Miss me with that bullshit. But what I want to talk about more importantly today is these claims of, the white genocide and this so-called evidence and what people choose to go with as opposed to being consistent. A lot of people suffer from cognitive dissonance, okay, and confirmation bias. And when that happens, you really can't have a conversation with them because either they're being intellectually dishonest or it's just impossible, right? It's impossible to have a real conversation, especially if you don't suffer from cognitive dissonance. If you are consistent in your beliefs and your philosophies, and you are encountering people who don't have those same consistencies and those same philosophies, they don't even have to have the same philosophy as you. They just have to have a firm and consistent belief in their philosophy. And then you can have a real honest conversation. But these people, they don't know how to do that. And so here we are. And this is something I'm going to expose today. And that's why I talk about, and that's why I talk about Euro-American hypocrisy, right? To be more specific, without having to put all this shit in the title, right? It's the so-called the white conservative base, right? The Republican Party, those types of individuals. Now, everybody, it's not just them, right? It's the Democrats, the liberals, all these different people from these political parties, right? That really are useless, because of the world they operate in, or the world they believe they operate in. They suffer from cognitive dissonance because it's all about how they feel in the moment, who they ride with, who they don't ride with, who they're willing to criticize versus who they're not willing to criticize. That's when these things come up. And so that's what I want to highlight today. King Fuse's Lit House was good. Assalamu alaikum. So, first thing I want to talk about. Let's go to Donald Trump. I'm going to share something. Now, if you guys hear some wooey music, my kids over there taking a nap. I had to play her some sleep sounds, to get her to fall asleep. It's interesting because she's still asleep right now, even though I'm loud. That's my kids are used to that. So I want to talk about this so-called evidence, right? Now, mind you, there is a YouTuber who goes by the name of the Officer Tatum, who sit up here talking about Donald Trump posted receipts. And I was like, okay, let's see what receipts we got. What receipts we talking about? What receipts? So then I did a little digging, I did a little research. It turns out he shared some photos and some videos and this, that, and the third that had nothing to do with what's going on right now. That has nothing to do with essentially the president of South Africa and what his beliefs are and what he has said. See, he has taken some things from different parts of in time and it has different contexts and different things that are going on. And he decided to present that to the South African president when he came to the Oval Office. And so it's just wild what and of course his supporters, right? Like the Officer Tatum. And of course, Officer Tatum, he has a huge following. He has like 3 or 4 million subscribers. He has all these conservatives riding with him and all that. And they take it and run with it and they spread this bullshit, right? And so, oh yeah, Queen Sister Cameron. See, these are the things that are going on that is not being talked about right now. But it's important that we talk about it because we're talking about South Africans. They are going after South Africans for white genocide. That's a huge claim. That's a huge claim. Exactly, King Fuse's Lit House. You're talking about a country of people, a government, the government of South Africa deciding to genocide white Africans or so-called white Africans, white farmers that have settled in Africa. Let's get that straight. And so this is crazy right here. Now, look right here. Trump used photos from wrong country. He used evidence from wrong country as evidence, photos from wrong country as evidence of white genocide in South Africa. Do you see this? This man used incorrect photos. Hold on, let me text my wife. Sorry about this. So, dude, like this is real shit right here. King Fuse's Lit House says Trump is the biggest idiot that ever lived. Literally, idiocracy. It's not just him though. It's not just him, and I'll explain why it's not just him. Right? Trump being an idiot and running this country is not the problem. It's the people that support him. That's the problem. It's the people that will overlook this like it's nothing. It's the individuals that give up their freedoms, right? That want this man to rule over their lives. So this is what I talk about when I talk about people who vote, right? People who vote for presidents and council people and mayors and this and that third. You're choosing someone to make decisions about your life that you feel don't affect you immediately, but at the end of the day, it is going to affect you. It's going to affect you in a real way. These are Donald Trump. This is the type of person that makes crucial decisions that affect the entire world. And when he claims that a country is committing white genocide, and to show evidence of this, he uses photos from the wrong country. We talking about big problems. Jimmy Nguyen was good. I ain't seen you in a minute. Cameron Phil says she's not surprised if incompetent was a person. Exactly. Yeah. Jimmy Nguyen, exactly. That is how you start racial wars, right? But it's bigger than that. Why South Africa? Resources, minerals. Never know. Africa is the richest country in the world, resource-wise. And it's the most exploited country in the world. Now, it says now this is live now Fox. Now this is the Fox. Do you understand the significance? This is a Fox thing. And Fox is straight up. You talking about Fox. You talking about the Republican network, the Republican, essentially the conservative news network. The other CNN, the conservative news network. They're calling out Donald Trump for what he would say is fake news if it was against him. You know, fake news, you know, that guy. This is a dude. What's up, J-Man? What's good with you? In a contentious meeting with the White House at the White House this week, President Trump falsely accused South Africa's government of systematically killing white farmers and seizing their land. This is a Fox publication from Fox right here. What was it? What was it? This is what is being presented to his base. And what's that? Over 80 million people in this country. Over 80 million so-called voting-aged adults that decided to vote. You're talking about there's like 150 million, 160 million adults. 160 million adults that essentially can vote. This dude has over 80 million people that believe in him. And this is the bullshit that he's doing. He even used printouts of news articles to prove his point. Reports have since revealed that the photo he used wasn't taken in South Africa. As he leafed through the printouts to underscore his points, he said South Africa's white farmers have faced death, horrible death. The drama. Like, you see how he's dramatizing this whole thing? Jimmy Nguyen says, you know, it's sad when history repeats itself in different ways. Stuff like this, people will hate black people even more. Exactly. Kind of reminds me of the Mandela 19 years when everyone hated Asians. Man, you right on point with that. You're right on point. But you see, this is a conservative Republican publication that is telling us that Donald Trump is full of shit. What's up, son? What you doing up? Okay, well, all right, go get something to drink. Go drink some water. Okay, I'll take care of you in a minute. Now, listen. Do you think they care though? Because you still got people out there that believe this bullshit. But reports have since revealed that the photo Trump showed as evidence, a screenshot of Reuter's video, it was not filmed in Africa. What we know. Reuters confirmed that the screenshot was from a video Reuters published in February 3rd showing humanitarian workers with body bags in Goma, Congo. In the Congo. He used a screenshot from a video that was filmed in Congo to highlight how white farmers are being murdered and being genocided so that he can show a bunch of body bags. This is wild and out of control. It's crazy. Why is Trump targeting South Africa? That's a great fucking... Didn't I ask that earlier? The backstory. Trump, since his return to office, has launched a series of false accusations at South Africa's black-led government. A campaign. So, what is that razor that we talk about? There's Occam's razor is one, but there's another razor, right? That says when something can be contributed to incompetency, that's what it usually is. Why has he been targeting South Africa? What is going on in South Africa? Right? What is going on in South Africa that has Donald Trump all up in their business, trying to start shit? Trump has falsely accused South African government of rights violations against white Afrikaner farmers by seizing their land through a new expropriation law, whatever that word is. Let me retry that. Expropriation law. No land has been seized, and the South African government has pushed back, saying U.S. criticism has driven by misinformation. Exactly. It's wild and out of control. Trump has already cut all U.S. assistance to South Africa and welcomed several dozen white South African farmers to the U.S. as refugees as he pressed the case that a genocide is underway in the country. So he cut assistance to South Africa and took on so-called South African refugees based on false-ass genocide claims. Yeah, Jimmy, a whole different country. A whole different country. Experts in South Africa say there's no evidence of whites being targeted for their race, although farmers of all races are victims of violent home invasions in a country with a high crime rate. It's as simple as a pimple. Hold on, guys. Did you actually sleep, little boy? Okay. Wakan, come close this door, please. So yeah, a whole different country. He used photos. He used a screenshot from a whole different country to accuse South Africa, the South African government, of white genocide. Can you imagine? That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. This is a serious ass accusation, but this is what we're doing. Now, and the South African president, Ramaphosa, visited the White House this week in an attempt to set the record straight and salvage the country's relationship with the United States. And I really wish I really wish that he did not have to do that. But the way the world is today, unfortunately, because of the centuries of, actual genocide in South Africa, in Africa in general, the actual, all the things that have gone on in South Africa over hundreds of years by the European. I mean, this is the state they're in now, right? And now, I told you guys the other day that the deaths of white folks in South Africa account for less than 1% of the total murders, the murders of white people in South Africa. Account for less than 1% of total murders in South Africa. Jimmy Nguyen, you right on point. There is a genocide in the Middle East and in Palestine. That's an actual genocide, but we too cool. We can't shit on it. We can't talk about that. We can't talk about the small hats. We can't talk about what the small hats is doing. Not to that degree, right? No, I mean, Donald Trump damn sure ain't gonna talk about it. Donald Trump is not going to talk about it. So I told you guys about that, right? Now, this YouTuber, Anthony Brian Logan, I'm not gonna play it, but this is Anthony Brian Logan. He is a black conservative in America. Okay, he's an American black conservative, and he has a lot of wild takes, right? About certain issues. He has a lot of wild takes about certain issues, but every now and then, he can be on point. Every now and then, he'll have a fair assessment of what's really going on in certain aspects. And that's why, he has a little over 1 million subscribers, right? But he's not going to skyrocket like Brandon Tatum simply because he likes to tell the truth about certain shit. Jimmy Nguyen says ABL stands for another bootlegger. That's funny. But on this one, he's right on point. He called out that Donald Trump is wrong about South African farmers. And he also points out the statistics, right? He goes over the statistics in regards to murders and whatnot in South Africa and how many deaths per what and all that shit. He goes over that. And in the comment section, you can see certain questions being asked and certain things being said, right? And this is really what I wanted. This is why I really wanted to do this, because this is where the hypocrisy comes in. Jimmy Nguyen says Brandon Tatum is just a dude who does rage bait for views and money, especially the Uvalde situation. Oh yeah, man. I covered that. Yes, I covered the Uvalde situation. I covered that, and I covered his interpretation of it, right? Because we all know those cops in the Uvalde situation, they failed. They chickened out. They didn't want to, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, they chickened out. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They failed. And they allowed all those children to die. And of course, Brandon Tatum backed them up because they're cops, right? Because we know Brandon Tatum is a former pig. So, of course, he has to back the pigs up, right? But I was surprised when he felt Derek Chauvin got what he deserved, But, that's a whole nother conversation. I was surprised by that, but it is what it is. So ABL talks about, basically points out how Donald Trump is wrong, right? By talking about the numbers, right, in regards to the deaths in South Africa, like the percentages. And, you see people in here like this. $1 million says black people in South Africa came up with those numbers. How many black farmers is it acceptable to kill, ABL? This is their response. He's not wrong. Let me see. Maybe the number is not the point. And now here you are playing against Trump. See what happens? Yeah. They get pissed at him for telling the truth. And so what does that do? That slows his subscriber count down. Right? Now, when I was looking at this yesterday, there were a lot of comments about like this. My guess is South Africa isn't accurately reporting their homicides. So in order to downplay the numbers, they're saying that the numbers are bogus. They're saying that the numbers are bogus. The farmers are being targeted. It's not random. Grandmas and children too. They're being tortured. If the incitement isn't happening from the government, that's persecution. If the incitement is happening from the government. Right? So this is what these people are believing. That grandmothers and children are being tortured. This is what they believe. If this is what they believe. If you compare the farming population in South Africa to the farming population in the States and applied the same population percentage, it would be equal to over 30,000 American farmers dying each year. Where are they getting this from? Less than 1%? That's just white people in South Africa in general. Less than 1% of the total homicides. But they're saying that if you applied that same rate, right? They're talking about the rate here, the rate of deaths. The same population percentage. They're saying 30,000 farmers, American farmers, will be dying each year in this country. In this country. Where are they getting those numbers from? How did he figure that? How did he get that information? This has been going on for quite some time. ABL, how much security do you think the farmers need just to stay alive? These people believe, they really believe that these farmers are being slaughtered in the thousands. In the thousands. What is showing all my what? How do I not show all this? I don't need y'all seeing what I be looking at. Whatever. Like the fake news, ABL, you quibble over numbers, not the event. What? This is wow. Do your research, ABL. You got this one wrong. Wow. South Africa does not report or record murders by race. So knowing how many whites have been, that's not true. Where are they getting this from? South Africa does not report their numbers by race. What the fuck are you talking about? What? So knowing how many whites are being killed is very hard to determine. Okay. So then how are we saying that there's a white genocide over there? If we don't report, if they don't record murders by race, and it's, how many whites being killed are very hard to determine, how are we saying there's a genocide? The Transvaal Agricultural Union of South Africa provides the most detailed numbers. Reported 635 farm murders from 2014 to 2024. Jimmy Nguyen says, but please keep that same energy for Palestine. The same people say they're subhuman. Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about, the hypocrisy. That's when I talk about the hypocrisy, this is what I'm talking about. They don't say the same shit about the Palestinians. They don't care about none of that. Exactly. They're okay with genocide, but not this genocide. Exactly. But they're telling us this agricultural union in South Africa. We can believe their numbers, though, right? We're not supposed to believe the South African government numbers, but we're supposed to believe the numbers of the Transvaal Agricultural Union of South Africa. We're supposed to believe those numbers. This is crazy. Now, here's one thing. When you call in, when you can fill a stadium with a person saying shoot to kill ABL, it's only a matter of time. Well, when is that time coming? Because it ain't happened yet. There is yet to be a white genocide in South Africa. So when is this going to happen? When is that matter of time coming about? Because it's not happening. There is no white genocide in South Africa, period. The only problem with white people is that they created everything and shared it with the world that doesn't deserve it. You hit. Listen. Look at this. Look at this statement right here. The only problem with white people is that they created everything and shared it with the world that doesn't deserve it. Wow. This is their belief right here. This is absolutely what they believe. This is what they believe, my friends. They believe that white people created everything. And the only problem white people have is that they shared it with the world. One is too many, this guy says. Well, say the same thing about the Popo. What about the Popo in America killing people? What about the Popo in America killing people? They ain't got shit to say about that, do they? They ain't got nothing to say about that there. No. What was it? ABL, here's an anecdote. ABL, I personally heard stories from South African migrants that came here 13 years ago. It's as bad as Trump says, or worse at times. The uncomfortable look and smile on that African president speaks volumes. I can't agree with you here. Oh, too bad. I don't think ABL cares if you fucking agree or not. That's why he's making this video and stating the facts. See, they don't care about facts. Right? They want to talk about anecdotes that they heard from 13 years ago. Right? Because let me tell you something. They say that there is a white genocide in South Africa. Well, then why hasn't South Africa been invaded yet? But all these white NATO nations. Why hasn't any of these European nations that these white colonialists came from, right? The ones in South Africa, the one they call the Afrikaners. No, they are white. They are European colonialists. That's what they are. Why haven't they been invaded? Why haven't they sent troops to South Africa to save these white people from being genocided? Why haven't they done it? What's going on? Right? The Dutch, the goddamn whoever the fuck that went over there. Who's the peoples? The Leopold, where they motherfuckers came from? I forgot what country, Dutchland or wherever the hell they came from. Or wherever, Elon Musk roots are. Why haven't they gone into South Africa to save the white farmers? If there's a genocide, we're talking about a genocide. Why haven't they done that? We're talking about black government motherfuckers We're talking about the black government, black South African government officials committing wholesale slaughter of white farmers in South Africa, and they're just gonna let them continue to do it. They're saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, there's a genocide in South Africa against white folks, but yeah, we're just gonna sit back and do nothing. Yeah, why haven't they been invaded yet? What was it? The coward away when children are getting genocide treatment. Yeah, absolutely. In the Palestine, and I've touched on that. Think about it. They're talking about these chants from these rallies, right? From these different political parties in South Africa. Well, we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on it. We're going to touch on that. Yeah, we're going to touch on that. Because context is everything. But see, what these people are doing, right? Like this, where is it? This person here, going with the confirmation bias. Yeah. 1 year, somewhere around 400 were deleted. You see that? 1 year. Where are they getting this information? Right here. 1 year, somewhere around 400 were deleted. So you're saying 400 white farmers were deleted in 1 year, and no one does nothing? Your logic is weird, ABL. You bring up illegal immigrant crime, specifically grape a lot, and a lot of these stories are blown up. But why not ask about the same statistical information about this situation as well? What are you talking about? Exactly, J-Man, the irony. Oh, the cops, yeah, what is this? Yeah, I mean, yeah, our government is it has a lot of responsibility over a lot of shit that goes on. Okay, this person asks, how do you know what they report correctly? ABL says, I have multiple sources. Check my website. Do the link in the description. Bada boom, bada bing. They're not going to go to the links, though. But let's go to it. I didn't plan on doing this. Right? I didn't plan on going through that. But here are the sources. Right? He said he put sources in there. That's what you call source up or shut up. You ever heard of that? Source up or shut up. Words to live by. Jimmy says, you know what the irony? What's the irony? These people are against people coming here, but here they are sounding like a liberal letting those people in. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Crazy. Based on false claims of genocide. They're letting these people. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Because this is what I'm talking about with the cognitive dissonance. See, when you operate in the left-right paradigm line, this is what you get. But when you separate yourself, when you get that out of your mind, when you are essentially apolitical, when you operate in the world of anarchy, right? When you operate in a world where you remove yourself from that mentality, you don't get this. You don't get this shit cracking, right? Because the original illegal immigrant were the motherfuckers that went to South Africa to Africa in general in the first fucking place all those hundreds of years ago. But see, what they're not talking about is how we went everywhere else first. And then due to environmental factors, we evolved and we changed to adapt to those environments. But that is a whole nother story. Cameron Hendon, what is good? Herndon, salute to you. So These are the sources that ABL has. He has false data, distort complex picture of South African farm murders. Okay, let's see what that's talking about. Let's see. A new law regulating property expropriation in South Africa came under immediate fire from President Donald Trump last month when he accused the country's government of illegally confiscating land from white farmers. Okay. Trump's blast was thin on evidence, but it reignited the emotive issue of farm murders in South Africa. A viral French post claimed that 60 white farmers are killed every day in South Africa. 60. They're saying 60 white farmers every day are being murdered. Oh, no, 50 farmers. No, 60 white farmers are killed every day in South Africa. While English Post said 4,000 have been slaughtered or deleted in 2018. Farm attacks are a reality in crime-plagued South Africa, but the figures in the claims have been exaggerated. Experts say about 50 farmers of all racial groups are killed annually in a country that recorded more than 19,000 murders between January and September of 2024. Remember what I said? Less than 1% of these murders has to do with white people getting murdered. Less than 1%. Anarchy, what is good with you? 11 Evan, what's up? You good, brother? Got to handle some biz, but I'm tapped in. No doubt. Salute to you, J man. I'll holler at you later. See, this is bullshit. You know, so that's one source. When you talk about source up or shut up, ABL sourced up. Now here's the key. He cut off all future funding to South Africa because the government was confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. And look, the confiscation claims are baseless, right? 60 white farmers are killed every day. Complete and utter lies. Lies. Exactly. 11, that's no doubt, man. So 21,000, look what 11 Evans said. 60 times 365 is 21,000. So they want us to believe 21,000 white South Africans were killed in 1 year. Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about the farm murders. Researchers told AFP Fact Check that they rely on credible records that track the number of murders in South Africa and attacks on farmers in South Africa. These include statistics from the Transvaal. Remember that. See, this is included from the number of the Transvaal Agricultural Union of South Africa, a union mainly Afrikaans farmers, and AfriForum, a minority rights organization for Afrikaners. According to the latest report published by the AfriForum in May 2024, 49 murders took place on farms in 2023, consistent with the 50 deaths it recorded in the previous year. This is roughly in line with the TAUSA figures that Johan Berger, an independent crime analyst consultant, sent to AFP Fact Check, which showed 50 farm murders in 2023 and 32 in 2024. Okay, that is a far cry from 21,000. So this is the analysis, right? Let's go down here. So analyst farm murders from 1990 to 2023. So this is basically the total number of murders in South Africa of farmers in, let's just say the last, what is that? The last 20, no, the last 33 years. In 33 years of murders, right? There were, all right, so let's talk about the farmers themselves. 1,455 in 30-something years. All right. Of the farmers themselves, direct family or wife, 585. Workers, 218. Visitors, 39. In 30 years, this is the number. These are the numbers in 30 years. The average in the last decade is somewhat higher. 63 people have been killed in South African farms each year. Now, is murder okay? No, but they happen. Now, when you talk about a genocide, they're claiming the government themselves are carrying out these murders. This is not what's happening, okay? This is not what's happening. Oh, boy. Crime statistics released by South African Police Service include data on attacks and murders on farms, but these are less reliable because data collection was interrupted in 2007. Okay, so this is what we got, right? So this is based on the South African Police Service attacks incidents. So it looks like SAPS reported 62, right? This is what the SAPS reported. Oh, I can't highlight it. 62 in 2018, 66 in 2017, 49 in 2016. Well, the TAU reported 33, which is less than 62. In 2017, they reported more, so on and so forth. But how do we determine whose numbers are more accurate? We can't. We can't. We're going based. This is on collected data. This is collected data from different agencies. But this is not equivalent to a genocide, y'all. This is not genocide. This isn't genocide. Right? This is not genocide. So here we go. Black people make up 79.8% of the population, and whites make up 8.4%. So the bottom line is there's a high crime rate in South Africa. And if you own and operate a farm in South Africa, and you are aware, 11 Evan mistyped. He said it's 21,900. Yes. Every year, 21,900 white farmers die, according to some people, right? According to misrepresentative data. Why can't we just be honest about what the fuck's going on? Why can't we just be real? If you want to stop giving South Africa money, why not just say we're gonna stop giving you money? Why make up this bullshit about the white genocide? So that's what's going on. A bunch of bullshit. Now, I talked about this. Now let's talk about this. Right? Let's talk about this. This is something that they used to spread this bullshit. Right, exactly. Jimmy, why make up this bullshit about white genocides? white genocides that would not be tolerated in, are you kidding me? If an African country was committing genocide against its white population, that country would be taken over by a European nation. Believe that to retrieve that. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. Now, look at this shit. Who did this? Do we know? Was it some random criminals in South Africa? How about, see, this is why people need to be responsible for their own security and safety. If everyone enjoyed the right to keep their arms and defend themselves by any means necessary, you will be able to protect yourself by any means necessary from all enemies, foreign and domestic, government, not government, random street criminals or street pirates known as police officers. You'd be able to defend yourself from any attacker by any means necessary. But instead, we rely on the government to protect us. And we think they're supposed to serve us, but they're really not. And this is the problem we're having. If everyone lived as they should, if people did not rely on government to run their lives and to dictate how they're supposed to live and pay taxes for this and pay taxes for that, if everyone were responsible for their own lives and, maybe small communities got together and worked things out together, because we are human beings are social animals. I understand that, right? People are going to naturally congregate. But if you keep that congregation small, you keep the community small, you have more control over your life and you have more control over your so-called leadership. Your leadership would not be able to commit genocide against you if government were not in control of your life. If there were no government, there would be no fear of genocide from a government. But it wouldn't be all, roses and sunshine, right? There will constantly be dangers, whether you have a government or not. It's just with the government, now you have the added element of danger due to government interference in your life. Yes, exactly, Unleavened Evan. Government is self-legitimized or self-legitimized organized crime. Facts. Probably like Lucas did. Probably Lucas did what? Man, I don't even watch Lucas no more. Hey, man, I disagree that a European nation would take over an African nation if the blacks was committing violence against. Because what happened in Zimbabwe? What happened in Zimbabwe? No, you know what? I got to look into this Zimbabwe shit because it's probably more misinformation than disinformation. Are you saying that also, is there a white genocide in Zimbabwe? Listen, the United States government would not need to outnumber. They already have operations going on in Africa, right? The United States government, they already have operations going on in the South, in Africa, in the Sudan, parts of the Congo. They are doing things in Africa right now. In Zimbabwe, the blacks rose up against the whites. Did they commit genocide, or did they just say, no, fuck that, we're going to take control of our own country? I think I know what you're talking about. There was no genocide. There was no white genocide in Zimbabwe. Just because black people decided to take the government back and take control of their country back does not mean that they should be invaded. Oh yeah, man, that shit. There was no, yes, when Robert Mugabe was alive, yes, he was firm in his stance that he would not have any interference from the European. That's his country. But there was no genocide. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. No, there nothing happened there that would warrant an invasion. They were not committing genocide against white farmers. I know exactly what you're talking about. They took their land back and got the motherfuckers out of there. Bottom line to it. And they left. I mean, yeah. 11 Evans said it isn't that they are bad rulers, it's the belief that they're good rulers. Bravo, 11 Evan. There, well, yeah, there are no good rulers. There are great leaders, but there are no good rulers. There's a difference between a leader and a ruler. It's important to understand that distinction. Cameron Herndon, so they could do the same in South Africa. I mean, okay. If the land of South Africa, no, I hear what you're saying, Cameron, but there was no genocide in Zimbabwe. What I'm saying is that if there were an actual genocide of white folks in any part of any part of Africa, they would invade. Believe that. But no, if they want to take their land, it's their land. If they want to give the land back to the wild, you know what I'm saying? This whole idea that you need the white farmers down there because they're the only ones that ought to farm the land. Well, we didn't need to farm the land until the white folks came there. They were hunter-gatherers. There are still parts of South Africa where there are still hunter-gatherers, like the Maasai tribe. Now, is there food displaced, hella displaced due to the overpopulation or not? No, I wouldn't say overpopulation, but overconsumption. Yes. Overhunting, right? The poaching. Yes. They have lost a lot of their natural, food and all that. Right. But it is what it is. Anarchy says, I haven't seen Lucas in a while. Bro just fell off. I saw one. Here's the deal about Colin Noir. First time seeing Brian in a while. Anthony Brian Logan. 11 Evans says, if you're not an anarchist, you want someone to rule over you, which makes you a slave. It is astonishing how many people identify themselves as slaves. Yeah, that's funny, 11 Evans, because I damn sure am an anarchist. What's funny, though, is I will have to push back against one thing you said. They don't believe they're slaves. That's the problem. They don't identify as slaves. They don't know that they are. And that's why they're stuck. Cameron says one question, he'll rest his case. If they take it over, why don't the white government take Zimbabwe back then? What? Because they can't. For what? Because they won't have the support to do so. They won't have the support to do so, right? Now, if Mugabe was homiciding and genociding all kind of white folks, then they would have the reason. But then they'd be hypocrites. Because then they would have to accept illegal immigration in their own countries. You understand what I'm saying? If they went over and took over Zimbabwe and South Africa because the South Africans and the Zimbabweans decided to take their land back and deport people they feel that are not supposed to be there, then they would not be able to do the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's simple. But they're not slaughtering a bunch of people. That's like if we have an immigration problem. We can't preach that we are against illegal immigration and then not have the same problem and then with the people in Zimbabwe, right? Because for all intents and purposes, the Zimbabwe government was always ran by black folks. It was just Mugabe, right? The president of Zimbabwe, when he was alive, was not playing with that bullshit. He wasn't on that, right? Whereas previous leaders in Zimbabwe were accepting it. He decided he wasn't going to accept it anymore. As simple as that. So he took his shit back and got, you know what I mean? But guess what happened after he died? You know what I'm saying? Because, and here's another thing they understand. They understand that presidents die. And so will their, when that president dies, so will their philosophy, so will their policies. And they can get somebody else in there that can do what they want. They understand that it's cycles of leadership, right? Because with every cycle, somebody changes something. And that's another reason government is ass. Anyway. Oh, Brian, high impact. Burkina Faso. I need you to anarchy. I need you to refresh my memory on that. Yes, 11 Evan. Most people don't see that they're slaves. So the bottom line is, so there was this bullshit about the crosses, right? Each cross here it says each cross represents a white farmer who was murdered in South Africa. And some people still deny South Africans are persecuted and say they don't deserve asylum because they are white. Now, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. False. It's false. Trump's claim was already circulating on social media before Ramaphosa's visit, right? A reverse image shows that the footage used by Trump with white crosses on the side of the road was already shared on social media in 2020. These are not, as Trump claims, the grave sites of more than 1,000 farmers. They're not. This is bullshit. Move back to Europe. Let them play Wakanda until famine breaks out. Oh, boy. The ignorance. Right? This is completely false. It's not true. Once again. All right. Now they're talking about this protest, right? Where they say, now, this guy was calling for the white farmers to die. But what does it say? South African politician Julius Malema was expelled from the ruling ANC party for fomenting divisions. He's a non-motherfucking factor. He's a non-factor. His calls for these murders fell on deaf ears. He does not run shit. He doesn't control anything. Oh, I'm going to look at that, anarchy. I'll look at that. I'll look into it. Just after the Horn River Bridge, hundreds of symbolic wooden crosses have been erected along the route by volunteers. Almost halfway to Hanover, the farmer Glenn and Vita Rafferty were murdered. An enormous banner was strung above the road. So they erected all these crosses when two people died. Now, is it okay that these two people died? No. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is 2 does not equal thousands of crosses. 2 does not equal thousands. But they're trying to make it look like that. This is what Trump is telling people. Trump is telling people that all these crosses represent. Each single cross represents a murdered white person in South Africa. This is what Trump is telling people, but it's bullshit. All right. Now, we talk about this guy here. Now, it says, instead, the scene showed a protest near South Africa city, Newcastle, on September 5th, 2020. The protest was triggered by the murder of the couple that I was telling you about, Glenn and Vita. All right, now, I read that in the caption. So here we got this guy saying, in another passage, the video used by Trump, the South African politician Julius Malema was shown proclaiming the slogan, kill the Boer, kill the farmer. The footage was taken at the FNB Stadium in Johannesburg, where a left-wing South African party, Economic Freedom Fighters, celebrated its 10th anniversary. They have nothing to do with sending the government out to kill a bunch of fucking farmers. There is no white genocide of farmers being carried out by the South African government. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. The song is an old declaration of war from the apartheid era and has been classified as hate speech in South Africa on several occasions. But I don't know if you guys remember, there was an apartheid in South Africa. There was an apartheid in South Africa. This is a declaration of war from the apartheid era. Okay? That's what that's from. And this individual may have felt like there is another apartheid going on the sneak tip. And that's probably why he did that. See, it says South Africa's president, Ramaphosa, who's the current president of South Africa, distanced himself from the aforementioned statements immediately after the video screening. The president said that those speeches are not his government policy. That's what he said. But we're not going to believe him because he's some black ass South African leader, right? He's not Trump, so we can't believe him. Now, here's another important thing. South African farmers refute Trump. No white genocide. South African farmer Theo de Jager, head of the South African Agri Initiative, also told DW that there is no genocide of white farmers in South Africa. Okay? Point blank in the period. There is none. That's what this white farmer in South Africa said. We are scared that he might misunderstand what it's all about. I sent him that letter. That challenges we have are not only challenges for, or the challenges we have are not only challenges for white farmers. They are even bigger challenges for black farmers. Well, if it's one thing we know that Donald Trump and his supporters, they hate DEI. They hate inclusiveness. They're going to hate this guy for including black farmers because for whatever reason, conservatives here in the United States, including black conservatives and, all these Trump baby munchers, they believe that there is no such thing as a black farmer in South Africa. They think they're all white. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear the system audio? King Fuses Lit House. Exactly. It's a cold game, right? So y'all let me know if y'all can hear the system audio from the video I'm playing. You hear what she said? Give me a 5x5 if you guys can hear the audio and myself. Shit. Well, you guys can't hear it. That's unfortunate. Damn it. Yeah. So that's why I need I need to let's see. You can't hear it. Damn it. That's too bad. That is unfortunate. Let's see. That is unfortunate. It's basically like what they're saying here. Now, maybe there's a caption. No, that is unfortunate. Yeah. Damn it. You guys can't hear it. That's unfortunate, man. Damn it. All right. Well, it's basically what he's saying here, right? This, where he's at now, is a memorial for over 2,000 farmers, black and white, since the 1970s. Black and white farmers. This is a memorial for them. Black farmers as well. Okay. And that's just what it is. Right? Yeah. Y'all can look it up. But this is what we got, man. Like I said, it's interesting how basically they don't believe the numbers from, you know, the South African government in regards to the murders and whatnot. But they're quick to believe the 17-50% bullshit. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The 17%, 50% bullshit, where they say black folks make up 17% of the population in the United States and commit 50% of the murders. They'll believe that. Yeah, they'll believe that from our government and from the FBI. And basically, when the FBI gets all this information from all the police departments around the country, every single one. So they have to rely on each individual police department, sheriff department, whatever, to give them all this information, and they compile it and they come up with the numbers. But we're supposed to believe that automatically. They believe that right off the bat. They don't have a problem with it because, again, of confirmation bias. King's Future Lit House says COINTELPRO, no IntelPro, still going on. Facts. Absolutely. King's Future Lit House, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And Trump is trying to get up in there for whatever reason. He's fucking with the South Africans. But they'll believe those statistics, right? They'll believe the 17% of the population, black folks, and they commit 50% of the murders. But they're getting that information from these police departments. And these police departments are criminal organizations in and of themselves. Right? Now, this is from the NAACP. Okay. And it's talking about police brutality. It's talking about the criminal justice system, where it says law enforcement officials are responsible for investigation of a crime to gather evidence to identify and use against presumed predator. The presumption upon which they are supposed to operate is that individuals are suspects and innocent until proven guilty. That's the presumption. As of 2018, there are 665,000 full-time employed law enforcement officials. Right? Now, see, we're getting into amendments right now. We're getting into the Bill of Rights, which is supposed to protect the rights of the individual. But they do that, right, when they feel like it. They will go with the Second Amendment. They'll go with the Fourth Amendment, the Third, whatever, when they choose to. They don't really want to protect our rights, right? They'll violate them at any chance they get. Unless Evan is absolutely correct. Jimmy, I agree. The NAACP is useless, but they're right in this case. When they're correct, they're correct. I legitimately remember they said they side blacks out to mainly support Palestine. I'm against the blue star with white background, but don't side like that. Don't side it like that. Exactly, Jimmy. When they write, they write. Now, the Fourth Amendment prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures and is the foundation for the protections included in our Miranda rights, right? You have the right to remain silent, all this, that, and the third. A black person is 5 times more likely to be stopped without just cause than a white person. This is a fact. That's the bottom line. This is real shit. A black man is twice as likely to be stopped without just cause than a black woman. 65% of black adults have felt targeted because of their race. Similarly, approximately 35% of Latino and Asian adults have felt targeted because of their race. Police brutality. 1,025 people have been shot and killed by police in the past year. Now, when did this come out? When was this? Anyway, I don't know what year this. It doesn't say. But I'm pretty sure that, that's probably an average. That's probably what happens damn near every year. There are somewhere between 900 and 1,100 people who are shot and killed by police in the United States each year. Right? So between 900 and 1,100 each year. Since 2005, 98 non-federal law enforcement officers have been arrested in connection with fatal on-duty shootings. 98. To date, only 35 of these officers have been convicted of a crime, often a lesser offense such as manslaughter or negligent homicide rather than murder. Only 3 officers have been convicted of murder during this period and seen their conviction stand. Another 22 officers were acquitted in the jury trial and 9 were acquitted during the bench trial decided by a judge. 10 other cases were dismissed by a judge or a prosecutor. In one instance, no true bill was returned from a grand jury. Currently, there are 21 non-federal law enforcement officers with pending criminal cases for fatal shootings. But they probably won't believe those numbers, right? They'll shit on those numbers. I understand what you're saying, Jimmy. I got you. 84% of black adults say white people are treated better than black people by the police. Well, that's that's a feeling, right? It's an understandable feeling. I understand that feeling. I get it. But it's still a feeling. But it says 63% of white adults agree based on 2019 research. So 63% of white folks. Now, I don't know the survey size, I don't know the extent of the research. I can't speak on that, right? But according to what they're saying, 60% of white adults agree based on 2019 research on police relations. They believe that black adults are targeted or that white folks are treated better by police. This is what they're saying 63% of white people believe. So, I mean, just look at this, right? And in a country where this is the case, when you have a criminal justice system and law enforcement that targets black people, we're supposed to believe this. We're supposed to believe this. This is the claim, right? We're supposed to believe that we are 17% of the population and commits 50% of the murders. right? And this is a claim that was put out in a viral meme. Whites killing blacks 2%. Police killing whites 3%. White killing whites 16%. Blacks killing whites 81%. They're saying that the 81% of the murders against white folks are committed by black people. Police killing blacks 1%. So they're saying white folks are killed 2% higher than black people. Blacks killing blacks 97%. This is what the claim is. This is what people believe. See, they will see this and they'll run with this, a meme that shows this, but they won't dig into it, right? They won't find out what the actual numbers are. What the hell? What the hell happened? This goddamn shit. I don't know what happened. Anyway. But the rates are the same amongst blacks and whites, right? Rates of white on white and black on black homicide are similar, around 80 and 90%. Overall, most homicides in the United States are interracial, and the rates of white on white and black on black killings are similar, but long-term and in individual years. Between 1980 and 2008, the United States Department of Justice found that 84% of white victims were killed by white offenders, and 93% of black victims were killed by black offenders. In 2018, the FBI reported that 81% of white victims were killed by white offenders, and 89% of black victims were killed by black offenders. Now, this is what it is. This is what they're saying it is, right? This is what the reports are. But how do we know that? How do we know this shit for fact? They get this information from the police departments, from the individual police departments that investigate murders and all this other shit. It's within 8 points. Black on black and white on white. Wait, black on white and white on black homicide also within 8 points. Likewise, the post attempts to portray the gulf in the rate of black and white and black on white on black homicide. It's just a lie. It's a lie. And then here it says black police kill black people at a disproportionate rate. Though nationwide statistics are less readily available, multiple studies have found that police kill black people in disproportionate rates. Right? And then what they're going to tell you, though, they're going to say, oh, well, that's because, black people, they always are in trouble with the police. They encounter the police more and therefore are more likely to get killed by the police. They'll say that, but they'll also say that white people are killed more. They'll also say that. King Fuses Lit House says FPO, Federal Order of Police, biggest gang in America. These are facts. That's a fact. But we're just supposed to believe that. We can believe those numbers, but we can't believe the numbers coming from South Africa. The hypocrisy is real. I tell you what, I don't know what to believe. What I do know and what I do believe is that there is no white genocide going on in South Africa. It is not based on what the South African government told me. It's based on common sense. It's based on the fact that if there were indeed a white genocide going on in South Africa would have been invaded, point blank and period. And then you have this white farmer. Where is he at? Yeah, this guy who said this. He said this: no white genocide. That's what this guy said. Theo de Jager, the head of the South African Agri Initiative. He said there is no white genocide. So, and if anything, if they really wanted people to, he would be the one to say it. He would be one of the ones. But why isn't he saying that? Why is he telling us that there is no white genocide in South Africa? If there is one. And he's the head of the South African Agri Initiative. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. There is none. There is no white genocide in South Africa. You understand? And this is coming from a white farmer. There you have it. There you have it. No white genocide in South Africa. Nothing to see here. Right? So that's what I got, man. I just wanted to come in here and I just wanted to touch on that because I feel it's very important, because you're getting all this information from these people and they're trying to present this narrative that there is a white genocide going on in South Africa. Donald Trump is pushing that bullshit for whatever reason, whether it be to cut funding to South Africa, to do whatever else. I don't know why he's pushing this nonsense. But we'll see if he comes out and says and apologizes for pushing that bullshit. I doubt it. But, it is what it is. And I just wanted to make sure you guys saw what I saw when I did my little bit of the little bit of research I did. This is what I came up with, because I feel like it's important, because it really got me when they said that you can't trust the numbers coming from the South African government. But they'll immediately believe the information that comes from our government, right? From the FBI. And there was a period of time where they didn't want to believe what the FBI said. They had a problem with the FBI. They hated the FBI because of all this bullshit with the January 6th nonsense. All right, Cameron Herndon, I'm about to wrap this up anyway. No doubt, man. So that's what we got, man. We just got to be real. We got to be consistent across the board. We have to keep that same energy, right? Now, numbers don't lie, but you have to know where you're getting your numbers from, right? And if you don't trust the source that the numbers are coming from, I mean, how do you really determine what's true and what's not? Unleavened Evans said, I suspect presidents are not allowed to apologize. Exactly. So we probably won't get one. It is what it is. In the meantime, this is what they're telling people. King's Fuse Lit House says good white sources always trust them, but cause us all to question our own. Exactly. I mean, I don't know, man. It is what it is. So anyway, I'm going to get on out of here, man. Thank you guys for stopping by and hitting that like button. If you guys didn't, please hit the like button on the way out. And yeah. Now I need to figure out the system audio because, yeah, I don't know. I think I got to get, I don't know what's got to happen for that to work, because I would like to share some videos, especially when I start getting into doing some Muay Thai content. I want to start covering some Muay Thai and, more boxing as well, but I want to start getting into Muay Thai content, and I need to be able to have you guys hear the video. So anyway, I'm going to holler at y'all later, man. Exactly. Unleavened Evan. Peace, love, and anarchy. Much love, like, share, subscribe, and we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Peace.